Riverside.
Good morning, Mr. White.
Good morning, Mrs. Angel.
And welcome to everybody to Teachers Change Lives podcast. We have a very special guest in the house. Her name is Kel Nicholson. Welcome to Kelly, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
Good morning.
So we have got a big story to tell. Kel dropped into my social media a week or so ago, and I definitely recognize that this was the perfect story to be telling because Kel has just finished her 20th year in education, correct?
This is the start of my 20th year.
Start of the 20th
Wow.
year.
Yeah.
And she gave hold it. Let's just pause. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. It does. It deserves a medal, Kel. And so we're going to hear a whole lot about your career so far to date, because it continues, which is really exciting. So let's tell the world a little bit more about Kelly Nicholson. I'm going to kick it off with alumni. So Kel went to Moranbah East State School for primary school. She went to secondary school at Moranbah State High School, and she headed to the beautiful sandstone buildings of the University of Queensland and did a Bachelor of Applied Science, majoring in education. And tell us a bit more about her, Whitey.
Yes, and Kel is an avid hockey player, an Australian Masters representative, and I'm looking forward to hearing a bit more about that. She's a career teacher, straight from school to uni and then back to school. She's taught in the UK for 2 years. She's been head of department for 9 and a teacher for 11. Married with a son who is in year 8 and a foster carer for cats for the RSPCA. Welcome, Kel. Great to have you.
Give it up for Kelly Nicholson.
Yes.
I'm exhausted just listening to the list, actually.
Exactly. All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut off the applause, but we got lots to talk about. So let's kick it off with the question we always ask. So you've been a career teacher yourself. So who is the teacher that positively impacted your life, and what did they do?
Shane Roberts. Yeah, so he popped out to the country to do his country service. And I don't know, he just had this way of connecting with students, just this way of allowing you to just feel really seen, of taking the time to really get to know you and build really positive relationships. But he was also really great at finding ways to challenge you. And I think that was probably really for me the first time that what I found is that I coasted along, like just kind of didn't work too hard. Things came fairly easily. So I kind of got into the habit of just sort of doing that, which, because it was doing the job. And then all of a sudden I had this person come along and they're kind of like, well, that's not really good enough. You need to do better. I was like, hang on, but I'm doing all right. They're like, yeah, but you could do better. So, why do your average when you could do better? And that, I found that really challenging, but I guess you've got two ways to take that, don't you? You can take that as a challenge and thrive with it, or you can see that as a bit of a put down and a negative and sort of retreat from it. So I guess, credit to my parents and how I was brought up. Someone presented me with a challenge and I just took it and ran with it. And then along the way, as, you find those difficult moments, he was really great in not rescuing or coming and saving. He was really great in supporting and still allowing you to find the answer, which then of course gives you that additional feeling of accomplishment, because I still got there. Even though I needed help, I still got there. I didn't just get it handed to me on a plate. So just getting used to that feeling, getting comfortable with feeling uncomfortable. And that's probably something that I say probably too many times to my kids now. They're probably sick of hearing it. But if you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing. So, what's the point?
Yeah. So good. And do you think, so like you've already said that you see that you do that with your students now. And do you think that, so were you already that person because of were you playing hockey at the time, or did hockey come after that? So were you already an athlete and kind of?
I've been playing since I was 6. But I didn't really have a massive drive I never dreamt of going to the Olympics. because frankly, I just wasn't good enough. And I identified that I wasn't good enough early. So for me, playing hockey, absolutely loved it. Always have loved it, because I just love the team aspect of hockey. I love getting around the girls, and I love that environment. You know, like I'm probably one of the original hype girls, to be honest. Like I'm constantly running around the field and like, woo, and, you know, politically incorrectly, patting people on the bottom still. So, so I just love being in that environment, and I just love, you know, seeing the smiles on people's faces when they do something that they didn't realize they could do, or, you know, that sort of stuff. So, and it wasn't until I kind of...
No, sorry, Gary.
It kind of wasn't until I kind of got older that this sort of second opportunity came around that I didn't really ever realize wasn't going to be another opportunity. And it started out as a bit of one of my best friends said, hey, there's this tournament. We should, you know, go and play it. We're old enough to play it now. It sounds like a really awesome girls' weekend away. And I'm like, yeah, I'm up for a girls' weekend away. Sweet. Like, let's do it. And then all of a sudden it's rolled, and I'm representing Queensland, and it all sort of happened very quickly.
Yeah.
Right. So tell us a bit more about...
And then representing Australia.
Yeah.
That came a bit later simply because COVID put a stop to it. So the first team I was picked, and I was actually meant to compete at the World Cup in 2020, but of course that was cancelled. So this is a little bit of redemption. I haven't done the World Cup yet, so it's very much a big item that I need to tick off, because I should have already been there.
Yeah. Right. But you've got that on the horizon, haven't you?
I do. And, you know, touch wood, that, you know, it's a long season. It's a long way away, that everyone gets there safely and healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. And her body is a temple. So as usual, Mr. White and I have clinked glasses and cheers as recording, and Kelly is not partaking because her body is a temple, and I respect that, my friend. So can you...
It's more about recovery, because there just isn't any at this age. So
yes,
I'm doing everything that I can to be able to walk tomorrow.
Yeah,
yes,
beautiful.
Right.
And make it to and make sure that your body makes it to
that's right.
To the big competition. So heading to Cape Town at the end of the year for the World Champs. So what I would love to hear from you, and I feel like our listeners would be interested. We have lots of beginning teachers and early career teachers. So I would love, because we're talking about hockey, so Education Queensland is really supportive of people who represent at a high level. So can you talk a little bit about that? And so you can actually juggle a really high performing sporting career and also be an awesome teacher like you are.
Absolutely. It just comes down to priorities and what you're willing to put on top of the ladder. But it also means, you have to understand that you can't have everything. But Education Queensland, to their credit, they do provide 5 days leave for representing at high level, so representing at state or national level, which is a really great opportunity for people to be able to access that and go away. And again, I've always had support of every administration team that I've ever been in regards to taking leave and things like that to access my sporting commitments, and they've been very, very supportive. So, I'm yet to find, and that's across a number of different schools and a number of different administrations have always been supportive in Education Queensland, and I have found that as a department have always been really great at that. So, I guess one of the positives of schooling is that if you're willing to, I guess, be part of the 5 a.m. club, there is adequate time in the day to do what it is that you need to do and still be good at all of it. You just have to think a little bit about, do I need to stay up until 11 o'clock watching maths, which at the moment I do.
It's a choice. It's a choice, right? It's a choice and a sacrifice. That's right.
Absolutely. But, with the current days of catching up and streaming via apps, you don't even need to stay up until 11 o'clock anymore.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's, making sure, so it's little things like I get up early, I get done what I need to get done, because otherwise by the end of the day, I've talked myself out of it. I'm very, very, very convincing. So if I get up and get it done, it's done, the bad date's off, the endorphins kick in, and then I have a great day. And then I can be the best that I can be for the kids as well, because I've ticked that off. And so then I'm already buzzing because I feel good about myself. I've done something, I've achieved something in the day. and then I can bring that into my classroom.
Absolutely.
I love
And
it.
it's great that school administrations recognise that if you've got a goal, like all teachers are human beings, and if you've got a goal that's outside of the sphere of their profession and education, they should be supported in achieving that, because not only do we, are we pedagogical wizards in the classroom, but we're also got our own hopes and dreams, and we need to be modelling that and how to achieve that to our students. And I think I really have noticed in I've been teaching 15 years, and I reckon in that time I've noticed a big shift away from being the uber professional all the time in the classroom to being encouraged to share a bit more about yourself and grow. Have you noticed that as well in your 20 years?
Yeah, and I mean, I guess for me too, as for being gay, I did have to hide a lot of myself for the first 10 years of teaching. I didn't feel comfortable that I could actually be myself. So it has been in the last 10 years that I have been able to make those connections with my students and not feel like that could be a hindrance to my career or what I do. So, in the last 10 years, it's now not even sort of like, it's not even something that comes up. Whereas previously when I have been at other schools, it has been something that's come up as an issue. So there has been an enormous shift, but not with the kids. The kids couldn't care less. The kids haven't cared less in a really long time. It's been the other teachers, to be completely honest. And that has completely changed. It has completely transformed. And
That's
now
so good.
I feel nothing but support and love from everyone that I work with. And I work with such an amazing team of people. I'm so blessed that I do work with such an amazing group of people.
Love it.
Wonderful.
I feel like that young people nowadays kind of demand a bit more from you, like demand a bit more.
Yeah, I think so too.
Back in the day, 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago when I started, it was you weren't encouraged. The kids weren't encouraging you to share more. Whereas now they're very skillful at getting a little bit more information out of you because they're really looking for that deep connection with their teachers. I feel like. Now, is that just me, or do you guys agree with that?
No, I absolutely agree with the deep connection part. I think as any person who's trying to figure out who they are and what they stand for is trying to find a connection with someone who they can kind of see themselves in. So I think they're just trying to find their place and they're trying to find allies and to feel safe and supported ultimately at the end of the day. So I guess any little bits of ourselves that we're able to open up to the kids to provide that safe sort of ally space is so important. It's such an easy thing for us to do without overstepping that line either.
And less
to
risk
have kids
nowadays.
feel like they belong. Yeah.
And it's finally we're in a more evolved world where there is that support for people to be themselves, and I think more because kids are growing up in this era as well, they are more comfortably seeking that connection in those people, in everybody.
It's just validation, isn't it? That you matter, and that's what it all comes down to. They're exposed to so much content from so many aspects. I just feel like they're probably just overwhelmed. Like, where do I begin? Where do I fit it in all of this plethora that I have in front of me? What does that mean for me?
What's real, and what does it mean for me?
Yeah.
I feel like we can see from this that Kel gets kids, and this post that she put up a week or so ago, I'm going to read it out if that's okay with you, Kel. And then I want to unpack it a little bit because you've given some absolute 3 absolute gems in this post for beginning teachers, but not just for beginning teachers. I reckon mid-career teachers, anybody who hasn't hit that 20-year mark, this is absolute ace advice from somebody who has. So she started off with warning long post. I didn't feel like it was long enough, just in case you're wondering, Kel. That's my feedback, all right?
It's more than a sentence, so people tend to switch off,
True, you're right. So this year marks my 20th year as a secondary school teacher. I've been attempting to reflect this year, and I definitely won't be saying it feels like yesterday, because in truth, it feels like it's been 100 years since I started. There is no doubt that this job is harder than I expected, but it is so rewarding, which easily makes up for the difficult days. During my reflection, I've narrowed things down to 3 of the most important lessons I've learned along the way. Number 1, if anybody wants to grab a piece of paper and a pen, now's the time. Number 1, Relationships. Oh boy, this is easily the top one. Everyone needs a work husband or wife. If you don't have one, get one. Simple. And building relationships with the little humans sitting in front of you, because they are all that matter ever. Number 2, be willing to reflect and seek feedback. The best feedback I've ever received is from the aforementioned little humans, because they are all that matter ever. And number 3, get comfortable with feeling uncomfortable. Things change. Deal with it. If you aren't uncomfortable, you aren't growing and learning. And your growth ensures that you are the best you can be for the little humans, because they are all that matter ever. So if you've made it this far, I've had the pleasure of teaching you or teaching with you, and we haven't connected in a while. I would love to know what you're up to. I've been so incredibly lucky to teach amazing little humans along the way, and the odd terror. Here's to another 20 years.
I love it.
Absolutely phenomenal. And then the responses that you had to that, Kel, was just beautiful. Some of those terrors putting their hands up to let them know, yep, still here. I'm not in jail. Yeah, or did my time, made it out. Thank you for the lessons, Miss Nicholson. So anything that further that you want to add to that? I want to talk about the work husband and work wife, because
so do I.
Amen, sister. Absolutely, amen.
And I've got one of each, and I still think I probably don't have enough. My work wife is actually off on maternity leave, so it's a devastating blow. Absolutely devastating blow. Yes. How dare she?
I know. Does she know the impact that this is having on you? You need to name and shame her right now.
Bree Hudson, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, come on, Bree.
I hope you're just as critical when you head off to Cape Town to compete. when you disappear.
The positive is she does live around the corner from work, so I actually drop in every week and annoy her. So
beautiful.
That's the only thing that's kind of getting me through, is I do get a weekly fix of her and now her little mini-me. So
love it. Okay, let's go. So Bree Hudson, absolute legend. You've had more work wives than husbands. So I want to we name and fame on this show, Kel. So we're going to go around the table. Go Whitey, name one.
Emily Benacki and Chrissy David. I'm lucky. I've got quite a few. Jules Lippold. I've got quite a few. Yeah. Well, I think it's important to have people.
It's a commune, more so than a work wife or husband. He's actually living in a commune, which is nice.
It's a commune.
Work others.
But you sort of, teaching's a weird sort of job, because you're all sort of doing very different jobs, but you're all doing the same job as well. So you can sort of, I don't know, I find it strange, and then working with different departments and that sort of thing. So I just find the people that you can unload on, if that makes sense. You can sort of use as a soundboard.
Yeah, it's a safe space.
It's a safe space, and you can vent your frustration. Gee, you feel so much better afterwards.
Yeah, but you're not going to be held accountable to that. They're not going to say to you, hey, but yesterday you said, hey, we don't talk about yesterday. All right, we don't talk about yesterday.
That's right. There's an understanding this is a difficult profession, and anyone you can find to lean on in any way, then and then asks you to lean on them as in response and reply is brilliant. So conversely, I want to name a couple of people. Yvonne Harrington. I couldn't live my life without this woman. I've in fact so much so that I've dragged her to different schools that I've worked at, because I need her with me. I've had Josh.
She had
Kennedy.
A choice in this?
No, she didn't, because she is my work wife. No, she did. She was complicit. All right. And I've had Kylie Bell. I mean, Kel was also one of my work wives along the way there. I couldn't have done the years that we worked together at Balmoral without her and her support. So you've just talked about they're a sounding board, but the other thing that a work wife or husband does is they champion you, and they pump up your tires, and they celebrate your wins, and they embrace those wins as their own, and you get to embrace their wins as your own. So it's not just the negative venting stuff, but they are the people who are going to remind you, actually, I know you said that yesterday, but remember, actually, this is the impact that you're having. So you need them. You absolutely need them in your life. So if you don't have one, like Kel said, go find one. So if you don't have one, the person that you maybe think might be, make it official. Hit him up. Will you be my
Get down
work wife?
on bended knee.
A little daisy
No.
ring.
I'm not sure if I've even ever
no.
explicitly asked consent for the work wife or husband.
No.
Now that I think about it.
Oh,
In
wow.
fact,
All
they
you
might
need
have
to
other
do-
work wives or husbands, and that makes me upset.
Yeah.
But we've just
I
made
don't know if
multiple,
we've
so
ever
it's
spoken
okay.
about exclusivity, you know?
I know. Do we need a policy document
that's-
around this?
That's why I was very clear in saying it's about people, not person. So
Yes.
people.
Yes.
Yeah, but look, I think to make it official, if they can just sort of flick you a text, say, "Get me a coffee," and then you get them a coffee, and then you just forget about it. That's your work.
Yeah.
husband,
Yeah,
work
and
wife.
my work husband is definitely doing the heavy lifting for Bree, you know. So, and that's Owen O'Donoghue, love you to death, our Irish friend. And we
Cheers.
eat breakfast together every morning while he sits down and does the word number things that they do that I don't understand while I sit there on Instagram and drink my coffee.
Oh, Wordle, yeah.
No, yeah, he does Wordle at home, and they do this thing in the
The
paper.
number one.
Yeah, there's a jumble thing too. It's a
right.
thing,
Oh,
and
okay.
I am zero help. So they sit there and do that, and I just sort of sit there and every now and then throw out a comment from something I've seen on Instagram and interrupt them repeatedly, but they put up with me. So God love him. I could not do my job without him. He is easily one of the most impressive people I've ever met in regards to teaching, and the only person to this day that I've had as a first year teacher, I encouraged him to drink alcohol. It's the only time I've ever done it. He just had one of those classes, and it was Friday period 4, and he still turned up. He turned up.
Bless
So,
him. To the Donahue.
congratulations.
Well done, mate. That's awesome.
Well done.
And like I just said, a good work wife champions their fellow human. So there we go. So
Yes.
Kel
Yes.
gets the award as well for being an absolute legend. All right, so we talk about magical moments and teaching tales here. So would you have a magical moment that you would be able to share? So whilst you're thinking of one, do you have one, Kel?
I do, yeah.
Wonderful. Listen to this for a sting. Magical moment. That's his voice just recently cracked, so it's a lot lower now. So I'm glad we captured that moment in time. Awesome. Tell us your magical moment.
It was my first year teaching. This is when I learned all about how important relationships were. I'm trained as a science PE teacher, but of course in my first year, here's my timetable and enjoy your year 9 maths class. Really fantastic. Can't wait. As a lot of teachers know, that we get very used to being uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. So off I went, and what I then realized afterwards is that it was actually the year 9 boys football team as the class. And they chewed through 5 teachers before me, which I didn't know at the time. But we bonded over.
Of course, they didn't tell you that. They didn't lead with that. Yeah.
But when I sort of had a bit of a look at, previous results, most of the kids hadn't passed maths in a number of years. So, the kids are just, they're disengaged. They're not interested. I'm just going to fail anyway. A lot of that sort of mentality. And I got there by Friday afternoon, period 4, was dodgeball. I know we had curriculum to get through, but it was dodgeball. And it had to be dodgeball because I needed something to get to Friday, period 4. And we set the bar pretty low. This is what we need to get through to get there. And then as the year went on, you just increase the bar. And it worked just as well for me because sometimes that first throw was everything I needed to stay in the game. So it was just as important for me as it was for them. But the big crowning moment for me, I was off on a hockey. I was coaching the hockey team. I was off on a trip, and I happened to come back halfway through Friday period 4. The lesson of the week that you just had to get through. And I walked upstairs to the class, and every single kid had their desk turned backwards and was facing the back of the room, refusing to engage with the teacher. And I've walked in and kind of went, excuse me, boys, can you please explain to me what's happening? And they all as one got up, spun around, turned the desks and said, oh, we'll talk to you, miss, but we're not talking to them. And I just thought, you know, that to me is a moment that I'll never forget, having that feeling, that connection with the kids. But also obviously I have had created such a safe space for them that when I wasn't there, they didn't feel like they had it.
Yeah.
And my biggest crowning glory for that class was 100% pass rate.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So good.
Wow.
Let me tell you, they weren't pretty passes, but it doesn't have to be.
No.
Because a C- is a C-, baby.
That's right. And a C- in maths when you've never achieved a C- before can actually change a kid's life. So
yeah. So that
amazing.
That probably changed my life more than it changed theirs. That was my make or break moment as a teacher in my first year.
Yeah. And teaching is teaching, I guess, in the end. So the content is one thing, and we haven't had a single guest that has come on that said, you know, Shane, what's your teacher Shane's last name?
Shane Roberts.
Shane Roberts. Nobody's come on and said, Shane Roberts, gee, he knew his content. He was a content specialist. He knew that textbook inside out. Not a single person has said that. It's the people, the teachers who saw the kids and who made those kids feel something about themselves and changed how those kids felt about themselves as humans and learners that have the biggest impact. Yeah, so that's beautiful.
It's the impact
Absolutely
on
beautiful.
us. I don't think we talk about that enough. Like I can't talk
true.
any more possibly about the impact that the kids that I've had in front of me have had on me as a human being and what I've taken away from them, because I learn just as much and I cherish it just as much as they do. And I think that's probably the thing that isn't spoken about enough, about how, I mean, it's the only reason why we stay in the job, certainly not for money. So, you know, we get just as much as they do, if not more.
Yeah. And I think that, I mean, that's why you're 20 years in. And I think that's why sometimes, I mean, there's many reasons why there's so many people leaving the profession right now, but if it's all about what you're giving out and you're not noticing your growth and the impact it's having on you, like you've also got to look inwards and experience and be, you know, open to feeling that experience of growth and pride in what you're actually doing in that classroom. All right, but has it always gone perfectly well, Kel? Like, has everything always gone really, really well?
Absolutely
so we
not.
want to,
and in fact, I'm still waiting for a perfect lesson to take place.
Excellent. Well, yeah, me too. That's great. So we want to hear one of those times when it hasn't all gone perfectly well. So think about that one.
Look, you know, we do a lot of, you know,
There's a sting for everything.
Are you guys doing these voiceovers?
No, that's Xavier. That's my son. Yeah, caught him just before his voice broke. All right, go for it.
Yeah,
Yes.
great. Very stoked with that. Science quite often gets tapped on the shoulder to do the, hey, we're doing a, gala day. We'd love you to do something, right? Sort of thing. Can you whip something up for us? I'm like, oh yeah, sure, no worries. And you know, we've got our risk assessments we have to follow and things like that. And I had a particular space where, you know, we grab the plastic bottle, do the dry ice thing, the bottle explodes. Kids love it. Super easy to do. Minimal risk involved if you get to follow your risk assessment. And then, of course, there's one day I'm told you can't have it there. We've got this other activity set up. I'm like, well, I have to have it there. Like, that's part of the risk assessment. No, you're going to have to put it here. So, no, that's not a great place for it. I actually think that that's quite a bad place for that. It's going to be really loud. You've got it quite close to the school there, next to buildings and things. That's not really appropriate. And it just happened to be the one time where, like, the ratio of water to dry ice was spot on. Nailed it. Probably my best explosion to date. Absolutely nailed it. Because you want the bottle to take a little bit of time, but not too much time that you might have to go over and poke it with a stick, right? And it was just that amount of time where I thought, oh, I might have to go check it. And then it went. And it went so well that the alarms went off.
Yes.
And I said, and it was one of those things where you just, you know, we're kind of sitting down, you know, everyone's panicking and you get that person approach you and, you know, want to chastise you. I said, I told you this wasn't in my risk assessment.
Yeah. I did say it was probably going to be pretty noisy. So,
wasn't I, you know, I did what I was told.
Yep. So that's
Yes.
You can have that conversation. Nothing was damaged, nothing went on fire or anything like that, but it's definitely one of those times where it's just kind of like, best laid plans.
Yeah.
Maybe just listen to that science teacher when
Yeah,
they're
nice.
talking about risk assessments.
Yeah. And if you're not sure, check with the more experienced person who might actually know something about it, which of course is the science teacher here.
Sometimes. Look, sometimes we also go, nah, she'll be right. But, most scientific discoveries generally start with the word, that's interesting.
I wonder what will happen
right.
if I
That's right.
insert risky thing here. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the only difference between just messing things up in a scientific experiment is that we just write things down.
Yep.
I like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
there you
I
go.
like that.
It's now a science experiment. Bottle blew
gonna
up
write that one down.
spectacularly and set off alarms. It's now a scientific experiment, not just me messing around.
That's awesome. So the other day when Zave was making a toasted cheese sandwich, it was just a science experiment when he put the cord inside the cheese toastie when he closed it and then burnt through the cord. It was just a science experiment.
Well, if he wrote it down, though. Did he write it down?
No, he didn't. But once he hears this, he'll be putting that on
Gotta
paper.
write it down.
Yeah,
Just
good
pop
point.
that down, mate. It doesn't need to be pretty. Observations.
Good
Just
observations.
underline it.
Safety switch flicked. Whole house lost power. Interesting.
Well, it could have been worse.
You're very true. It
could have been worse.
It could have been worse. Exactly.
Yeah.
Said yeah. All right.
Especially for a teenage boy.
You're right.
Oh,
You're right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
who needs to get revenge on his mum for broadcasting his prepubescent voice?
Teaching tales.
Yes.
Yeah.
And telling everyone that it's his prepubescent voice, not one that he put on for the sake of the podcast.
You're right.
Oh,
Thank
so.
you. I'm receiving a whole lot of feedback from you guys here. That's great.
Well,
thank you.
Well, now you're growing. Feedback is required for growth.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's good. All right. Before we let you go, we want to play a game with you. Last year we played a different game, and Whitey lost every time.
I didn't win a single one.
Pressure.
I didn't win a single one, and we had to change the game because obviously that wasn't working for me. I'm a little bit competitive.
Yes. So this year we've had the one interview, and actually Whitey had a win, his first win ever on this show.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you.
100%.
He handled that with the dignity and
you would expect.
Yes, exactly.
From me.
It is
Yes.
a winner, mate. It doesn't matter.
That's right.
Don't encourage him.
All
right. So, are we ready to play?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yes.
Say what? So you're going to say what answer you think it is, and it's going to be a number, and Whitey always goes first. All right?
Okay.
So the first question is the Hockeyroos, which is the Australian women's national field hockey team,
Yes.
are ranked what number in the world as of August 2023?
August 2023?
Yeah.
What data are you using? How old is this?
I didn't stutter. I said...
Well, they haven't had an international tournament since then, to be fair.
Thank you.
Gee, I think all right.
So,
I think I'm in
Kelly
trouble.
Nicholson,
I
and I
think
accept
I'm in
your
trouble.
apology.
All right.
I mean,
now,
they're waiting
hang
for
on.
the Olympics, so everyone's chilling out at the moment.
Correct.
All right. So,
Paris.
okay. I do know that there are a few. I know India is very good.
Mm.
And I know I'm going to say we're ranked 2 as of August 2023.
Okay. Kel,
Okay.
what do you want to say?
It's not number 2.
Oh,
That'd be awesome, though.
Really?
So are we just sticking with the men's or the women's here?
Women's.
It's
Okay.
women's.
Because the men's are potentially number 2 or number 1. And
but
they've
they're
been
the
there for a while,
Kookaburras.
but they are the Cooks. But we're not quite up there, unfortunately.
Really?
No. And look,
Can I change my response?
You can.
no, don't. You can't change your response.
All right.
Because unfortunately, you're right. If they're number 2.
That's why I wanted him to change his response.
No way.
You got to give it to him.
Okay.
The girls are doing exceptionally well at the
That's
moment. They
awesome.
are just
Yeah.
absolutely
Oh, wow.
killing it, and very
Yeah.
high hopes for the Olympics for them getting a medal. They're
Wait,
doing really, really
so
well.
who's number 1? Do you know?
The Netherlands. The Netherlands.
And Dutch.
Yeah. It's a national sport. So that's a tough nut to crack.
All right.
Righto. So
All right.
I reckon Kel should get a point there for actually stating that I was right.
She was right. All right. All right. Well, let's level it up then.
All
right.
Do I go first again, or is this Kel's turn?
You
first.
always go first. Always, that's
always.
Always. Yeah. No.
Okay.
All right. So, how many Olympic gold medals?
Metals or medals?
Not metals. Medals.
Right.
How many gold medals have the Hockey Roos won?
How many gold medals?
How many gold medals at the Olympics? How many Olympic gold medals have the Hockey Roos won?
Not the Kookaburras.
No, because we're not talking about the Kookaburras because we don't care about the Kookaburras.
All right. Okay. I'm going to go 4. I'm going to go four big ones.
All right. So you're deciding, Kel, are you going lower than that?
No. You got to say your number. You said this is higher or lower. What's this?
Wait,
because this is closer. Yes. Okay.
Oh, this one closest.
I see why I go first now.
Yes. All right. So how many do you reckon, Kel?
I'm going lower.
Okay. So you're going to say 3?
2.
Don't say 2. Don't say 2. Go 3 because then you're going lower.
I heard 2.
Oh, well, did I have to give a number?
Yes.
2's a number that I heard.
2's a number. All right.
Well, it's either 2 or 3.
We'll
so
go
I
3.
definitely didn't win it in 2. Like,
Kel said lower. She said lower.
Lower.
I did say it's definitely lower than 4.
It is because they've won 3 Olympic gold medals in
Was one in the 80s?
1988, 1996, and 2000. So I would say they're due.
In the 96 and the 2000, but 88 was slightly before my time.
Yes, it was.
That was Seoul, wasn't it?
Yeah, yes.
Like, I was live, but, you know, I don't remember it.
Yeah. No, I remember the 100-metre sprint that year.
But I remember the 2. I remember 96 and 2000. I watched those 2.
Yeah.
So I
Ben
knew
Johnson
it was 2.
in 88.
I just wasn't sure about anything before that. Because I don't know how long hockey's been in the Olympics.
I remember 2000 as well. Yeah.
Hockey's big.
Yes, that was in Sydney.
It was home.
It was a home one.
Massive.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but I remember that. Yes, okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a tie.
All right, one of them.
No. Okay, cool. The tiebreaker. The tiebreaker. So there is a number that you're going to give me here.
Okay.
All right. So it's not higher or lower. You're going to give me a number because it's a big number. So how many full-time equivalent teaching staff was there in Australia in 2023?
Once again, old data. Why?
Well, because we've only just started 2024.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's fair.
Literally,
day 8.
Okay.
Calm down.
No, we're not even count
You've got no data for 2024.
How many? Fair. Okay, fair enough.
You're into your third day.
All right. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yes, I hear you. All right. So, how many FTE teachers in Australia?
Last year, yes.
Right. Oh God.
You got 5 seconds, Mr. White, to give your number. 4, 3,
80,000.
2, 80,000.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Kel.
That's a number, isn't it?
It is a
this
number.
in Australia or Queensland?
It's in Australia.
120,000.
120,000. Well, I can tell you that it's not nearly. It's exactly 307,000.
So I win.
41,000. So,
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I want the, and I got an. Or was it that way?
Mate.
No,
That's
you.
We've got about 60,000 in Queensland alone, don't we?
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Really?
It's like 80,000. Yeah.
I just assumed. All right, so.
Well done, Kelly Nicholson.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right,
I knew I just had to be above him at this point, so I just thought, I won't go too far. I just have to be above him. It's definitely more than 80,000.
Love it. Love
I
it.
thought
Love it.
FTE. I thought, okay, that's not how many teachers. That's how many full-time equivalent.
Full-time equivalent teachers. Yes.
80,000. That's not a lot.
No.
No, it's not.
No.
And
On reflection.
Secondary.
I regret my decision.
You can't take it back though. No take backs. Well done, Kelly.
Well
Thank
done.
you.
Well
Yes,
done.
you're putting
First
back in
person
this.
to beat me with this.
Yeah,
Well done.
2024. Well done. All right, we are just about finished. So, Kel, how can people tune in to the Australian team when they head over to Cape Town? How do you think they can? What do they need to do to be able to keep track of
If you
that?
jump onto the Hockey Australia website, they'll provide information on how you can live stream the games and the platform that they use for that.
That is fabulous.
Awesome.
And any last little piece of advice? We have a high number of beginning teachers and early career teachers who listen to us, and also a growing number of people who are thinking about joining the profession. So any words of advice from a 20-year veteran of the career in education?
There's always tomorrow. When things don't go to plan, they're not supposed to go to plan, you know. Kids are amazing in that every day is different. And that's one of the exciting things about teaching is every single day is different. And that doesn't mean it's bad. It's just different. Just know that, you know, that terrible lesson that you think you had, we've all had them. I still have them. I still have those lessons where you just walk out and just go, what actually just happened in that room? I'm not even really sure. And it's about being able to turn around and go and reflect and say, wasn't great, but tomorrow will be. Yeah.
Absolutely love it. So true. So true. Go tell your work wife or husband about it, and then walk back in those doors tomorrow, because those kids are counting on you. And
absolutely.
And because in the end, the only thing that matters are the kids ever. Like, I'm going to be quoting that for a long time to come, Kelly. And really, really appreciate what you've shared tonight.
Thanks,
Mr. White,
Kelly.
I always like to finish with how do people connect with us? How could they connect with us?
Well, they can go to our email.
Excellent.
And contact us on email via teacherschangelivespodcast@gmail.com.
Kel, you wouldn't think that was a difficult question, but the number of times he's gotten that one wrong. So well done, Mr. White. Your first win.
Season 5, nailed it.
Nailed it. Proud moment. See, you can come back tomorrow and be a little bit better than yesterday.
Look, that's right. There's always tomorrow.
Always tomorrow. And there's always our socials. You can get on our socials. How about you fill us in on the details there, Shaz?
Damn you! Don't throw back to me. You can connect with us, Teacher Change Live podcast on Facebook, Instagram, TCL Pod on Twitter. No, don't come to Twitter because it's not even called Twitter anymore. See us on the TikTok. You can also find us on the TikTok. The TikTok, yes. All of the young hip people are doing the TikTok, and sometimes we do as well. Anyway, we've all got lessons to prepare for and beauty sleep to be had. So good luck at World Champs, Kel. And
yes, indeed. You smash it. We'll be watching.
Absolutely. Keep slaying in your classroom. Your kids are lucky to have you.
Yes, they are.
Mr. White, we haven't even talked about the fact that you're recording from your garage, but we'll get into that next week.
Okay. I'll probably still be here. So, yep.
Probably. Awesome.
Yep.
All right.
Why not?
Thank you so much to our listeners. We'll see you all next week.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Kel.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Shaz.
Thank you.
Powered by Riverside.